Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Good morning and welcome to Encounter. I'm your host today, the Reverend Joe Sellepack. I'm the Executive Director at the Broome County Council of Churches. My parents, my grandparents and my great-grandparents, when they were coming over from Europe, they passed through immigration at Ellis Island in New York City. And standing in Ellis Island is a large statue. We call it the Statue of Liberty. And on the base of the Statue of Liberty is a poem. It says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore." These words by Francis really exemplify many of the feelings that most of us have about our country. Here we have opportunities. Here we have a life that was not defined by what our parents did, but instead we are given the opportunity to advance in life and to be different than what we could have been if we had just been defined by the caste that we were born into, or the type of royal, whether we were royal or not. And here in the United States, they were given opportunities to advance. And today there are many people who are trying to get in through that same mode of entrance immigrate into our country, and we offer them the ability to do that. One of the organizations inside of our community that works with these immigrants is the American Civic Association. And today I have Hussein Adams. He is the executive director at the American Civic Association. Welcome to Encounter today, Hussein.
Thank you, Joe. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great. And so tell us a little bit about how the American Civic Association helps immigrants coming into our community.
So the American Civic Association, established in 1939, has been providing immigration services for over 80 years here in Broome County. We're an accredited agency with the Executive Office of Immigration Review, which is through the Department of Justice. And we basically provide immigration services for those nationals that are coming from other countries, that are seeking refuge, that have been persecuted, war-torn countries, and we provide services to help them, gain status in the United States, to help them, attain work authorization, and, eventually a pathway towards permanent residency and citizenship.
So how does a person get connected to the American Civic Association in Binghamton?
Well, we're right here, 131, we're 131 Front Street. We also have a website, www.americancivic.com. All of our events and services that we offer and provide are there on our website. And you can come check us out,
Now, are you looking? I know that you do like ESL classes, and there's a number of services that you provide.
Yes.
You wanna tell folks a little bit about those services?
Yeah. So currently we have a contract with the Binghamton School District, where we have an English as a second language school in our basement, operating upward 100 students a day, and those individuals that need help learning English, they can come and sign up. The classes are free, and we have teachers that come through that are from the city school district.
And do you have and how else do you help immigrants like coming into the community?
So just recently, just yesterday, we received a family from Syria.
Oh, okay.
We're one of the first affiliates with International Rescue Committee, which is based in Manhattan, and we primarily function helping these refugee families come into the United States and integrate and resettle, finding them jobs, finding housing, social services. We have up to 4 health agencies that table at the American Civic, and nationals that come in so long as they have a valid passport from their country and don't have any criminal background or criminal history. They're authorized, they're able to get health insurance.
So how did that family from Syria, how did they end up in Binghamton?
So through our partnership with IRC, International
Okay.
Rescue Committee, in where we have very strict regulations through the U.S. State Department, they send us families that would fit within, you understand, that criteria and what we have at the American Civic. And sometimes too, there are family ties with that are here living already in Binghamton.
Right.
So they assign that family. Of course, we look at, and some of these families, like this family yesterday that arrived, they've been in this refugee camp for 13 years.
13 years.
Severely vetted, you understand, through multiple federal agencies. And it's a good feeling to receive these families and to be able to help these families get on their feet. They want to come into the county and the country, to better themselves and their lives and lives for their family members. They have 2 children, and they're looking to enroll those children in public school. And of course, the ACA is, we call it a one-stop shop.
Right.
You can come and you can provide legal services, as well as teach English classes, health, insurance and benefits and whatnot. So we have it there, 131 Front.
And so this family would come, this family from Syria, they come basically with very little, as far as like
2 suitcases.
2 suitcases, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what they're allowed on an airplane, right?
Yes.
So that's not enough for a family to get by,
Right.
So they need furniture, they need bedding, they need.
Absolutely.
How would people be able to connect with those folks and be able to offer them the things that they need?
So we accept donations, and we also are welcoming, and accept volunteers that are willing to come to the American Civic and help us, during this whole resettlement process with these families. One of the criteria regulations that the State Department has, we have to make sure that the community, the area that they're moving into is safe, their home is furnished, basic amenities,
Right.
and bathroom, kitchen, food. So donations is something that we heavily rely on, and we're calling on the community and hoping the community and other faith-based organizations can come together and help us, receive those items and help these families.
Yeah, those items are really important for a family, especially.
Absolutely.
I remember that this goes back in my memory back to when the ACA, the American Civic Association, had the shooting that happened
2009.
in 2009. That was ironically one of the immigrants who actually did
Right.
the shooting. We were helping at the Council of Churches. We were helping with some of the recovery efforts that come with that moment, and we were going into houses where the person had nothing. They may have had a mattress on the floor and maybe a hot plate or something, but very, very little.
Minimal. Yeah.
that they had in the house. And we found that one of the things that we had to do was try to get donations in for some of those people, just because it wasn't acceptable to us that a person be
Absolutely.
living in that kind of a way.
Yeah.
So so it's important, and I think that our audience would really like to be involved in helping in some way, and if they have these things that they would like to help with, how would they get it to you?
They can give us a call, 723-9419, or check our website. There's people there readily available on a daily basis to field their calls and answer their questions. And it's something that we really, the community support, we really need community support to be successful with what we're doing. We're very passionate about this work. It's humanitarian work, and Binghamton, historically, as you mentioned in the beginning, have always been a welcoming city, have always welcomed refugees and immigrants from all around the world, regardless of their ethnic background or religious identity. So we should continue with that. We should uphold and increase, you understand, our presence and let the country know that Binghamton is here and doing the work that we're doing, and helping.
Yeah, I was talking with one of the Slovak ministers in the area, and he said they would come off the boat, and the one word that they would say is, "Which way is EJ?"
EJ, yes.
And that was the only English that they may have known, and that was because they were coming over to work in the shoe factory in Binghamton, and that was the thing that kind of fueled our growth for a number of years, was just these immigrants that were coming into the community. And it seems to me as if our community has something of a tangled history in some ways, in welcoming or not welcoming refugees or immigrants. And those are some confusing terms, right?
Yeah.
So you have you have immigration, you have an immigrant, you have a refugee, you have the other word that gets thrown around is migrant and asylum seeker,
and which they're all, these are all newcomers.
Right.
These are all newcomers that are coming into the United States, seeking some form of relief.
Right.
You understand? Immigrants are here legally. You understand? And they go through the process that USCIS has afforded for them. This is some people think that American Civic is a government entity. We're a nonprofit organization that provides services, and we only follow what the U.S. government allows us to, in regards to the services provide to these nationals. So, most of the asylum seekers, they come in, they've already been inspected at the border.
Right.
You understand? They've been inspected at the border. They come in, and we prepare documentation and collect evidence to prepare their case. You understand? The United States also has some 17, 18 countries or so that temporary protected status, is afforded to them. If they come from a war-torn country, a country with violence, where they've been persecuted, and they have to prove, they have to prove that they have a well-founded fear. That's the legal statutory terminology. They have a well-founded fear that they've been persecuted, and if they return to their home country, they'll be killed, or there'll be further persecution.
Right.
So of course it's temporary, but it allows them to legally reside in the United States. It allows us to apply, at the same time that we apply for the TPS, we also apply for work authorization for their Social Security card. So they have status in the United States for 18 months. And if the country conditions have not changed, sometimes it's extended. Department of Homeland Security would extend that period, or sometimes, if the conditions have changed, they would be sent back, or, unless they have another case or situation where they can file for some other type of, form of relief.
Yeah. Well, my guest today is Hussein Adams, and we're talking about the American Civic Association and how they help bring people in to the United States from various countries around the world and help them have an avenue towards citizenship, which is, I think, the ultimate goal of the American Civic is to help them reach that end or that graduation point where they find citizenship and are able to become productive members in our community.
Yes.
So one of the questions that that we have, majority of the audience has probably heard that we're under an emergency order that was issued by Jason Garner for the county, and that. What can you help us understand a little bit about what that is?
So, to my understanding, the emergency order was placed, as was also placed in 30-something counties throughout New York State, that basically bars these migrants that are coming from south to New York City to many are settled in New York City. So it's barring them from resettling within our county. Our work at the American Civic continues and will continue. We're helping immigrants every single day,
right.
Regardless of what country they come from, regardless of their ethnic background. So the migrant situation is slightly different, where you have massive numbers of immigrants that have come into the country that are here, that are already here. And so, it's a little complex. I don't think that Broome County should be in a position where we are stating that we totally, reject and refuse and turn away, all migrants. We can accommodate some of them. We should be able to accommodate, tapping into, the churches and tapping into, the faith-based organizations and the people who are willing to help with housing and willing to help with some form of temporary shelter, and that's something that we do with through our refugee support service program, our RSSP program, which is separate in a lot of things that we do. But once you have been paroled into the United States, you come in with a passport from your country, you're eligible to enter that program. We find housing, we find social services, work authorization. We've been doing it since Russia invaded Ukraine. You understand? Right. And we've been servicing Ukrainians at every single day. So I don't think that as you mentioned in the beginning, Binghamton has a history. I mean, we once received thousands of immigrants on a daily basis that came into Ellis Island, that came into New York City. They came up, some of them came up on trains, you understand, and some of them worked in the factories and in Endicott, and my feeling and my thoughts are that we should provide the same form of relief, you understand, to everyone.
Right.
You understand, to everyone, and believe me, the U.S. government is not allowing anyone to attain any type of status if there's a concern that they have a criminal background or criminal record or they're wanted for something. So we need to put that to rest in regards to the fear that we're bringing in these rogues and these criminals. They're coming in to take up all of our jobs, and that's just not the case. Refugees and immigrants and newcomers that have come into this county have been hard workers, and they've contributed to the development and the building and the infrastructure of this county. And we have available jobs, plenty of jobs that are there that we won't work. You understand? Let's call it what it is.
Right.
So, I think the public needs to be educated as to who these people are, what their true motives are. You understand? They're not coming to take over anything.
No.
They're coming to work. They're coming to contribute. They're coming to live a better life. And this is what America is about. So I think, education is important, making sure that having these conversations and discussions and educating the public and society as to, how this has benefited us and hopefully will benefit us, more and further in the future.
It's true. I just recently read that Canada has surpassed 40 million people
Yeah.
as total population. And it's the first time in their history that they've grown as rapidly as what they are currently growing. And the reason that they're growing so rapidly is because immigration. Immigration has kind of fueled that. And what they've basically, said is that it's increasing the tax base. It's helping the elderly because the people who live on pensions,
Right.
people, and it really is fueling a future for Canada,
Yes.
based on those kinds of concerns, which I think the United States is probably at a very similar point, because we aren't, we don't have children at the same rate that we once did, and as a result, the people who are going to be coming in to the community are keeping us beyond a zero growth rate, which is not good, for population. So it seems backward for us to think that immigration is a bad thing, because in like from just like that huge view of it, the encompassing view, without it, we're in deep trouble.
Yeah.
So how, and these families that come in, and I've been surprised too at the level of education that some of these folks have already coming into the United States.
Yeah, we've had very educated families and family members that have come in, doctors, lawyers, engineers, and frontline workers that have skills, construction workers and builders, and they of course can't find immediately they can't find jobs in their field, but they have those skills and they have that experience. We had one doctor recently that had come into the American Civic, and his entire family, and he had to resort to minimum wage job, but he was very grateful for that. They've been very grateful to work anywhere, to be able to contribute. But when they do attain status, these are our doctors, our nurses, our nurse practitioners. These are people that are working in all these professional fields, and are helping the community.
Right.
You understand? So I think we need to, that anti-immigrant, the perception and the rhetoric and whatnot. We need to education. We need to look at, just look in the immediate city, the county that we live in. You understand?
Right.
And look around and see what they're doing, professionally. Those who have been here for, now some decades, they're contributing members of the society.
Yeah, my dad was an engineer, and he was the first person within that. Like his grandfather was the one that immigrated from Austria through Slovakia through Austria, came to the United States. But he was the first one to get a college education in that family, and without a number of things in place, there would be no, like he was heavily involved with Ford Motor Company, and a bunch of helped build some really impressive cars and all that kind of stuff. But none of that would have been available without that path to immigrate towards citizenship that was available to a lot of people. I would think that we should be thinking in this kind of a way.
I agree.
How do we get people in to the United States so that they can become productive members of society and be able to help create a world that's better for everyone?
Yes.
So you alluded to the fact that faith communities can help within this whole process of making folks become citizens. In what way? In what way can they help?
So we have a number of events throughout the year I would start there. If we can, get more participation from
Garlic Fest.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple days ago we had the World Refugee Day,
right,
at
there you go.
Alstanango Park, and it's for everyone. It's open, but we want to, this was a day that the United Nations designated as International Refugee Day, welcoming, honoring these refugees, you understand, recognizing their plight, recognizing their struggle, recognizing, you understand, that they have been courageous,
right?
You understand, their path and their what they have gone through, like the family that arrived yesterday, 13 years. I mean, 13 years living in a camp with nothing.
That's terrible.
You understand, barely eating, barely surviving, and just want to have a better life.
Right. Yearning to breathe free.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's something, when you look at, from a humanitarian perspective, this is something that we're all children of God. You understand, mankind is the family of God. You understand, there shouldn't be any differentiating when it comes to the color of your skin, you understand, the religion that you practice. So I think that the more that the faith-based organizations and community members can come out to our events, they're always highly marketed, and we do, on our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram pages, which many frequent, our website. Get involved. Contact us, get involved, find out what you can do to help, find out, how you can donate, find out what you can contribute, to helping this resettlement process for these newcomers, be, better.
Yeah, it's amazing to me, that that oftentimes the folks who are anti-immigration will point to the Bible and they'll say, look, the Christian scriptures specifically, and they'll start looking at it and going, this is proof that we should be leery of immigration. However, the entire book, if you go from the book of Ruth to the book of the story of Jesus through the whole story of Scripture is a story of immigration, even from Abraham and leaving the Ur of the Chaldees, going into a promised land. This is a story of immigration. So, Hussein Adams, I am so grateful that you were on. We were able to work this out. Yeah, it's a tough thing to work out, but I'm really grateful that you could be on Encounter so that we could have this conversation for our listeners and our viewers, and for all of you. I pray that you would be good and gentle with each other, and find ways that you can help folks who are new to our area be welcomed and supported in their effort to become citizens. Thank you, and have a great day.